It's your time.
Always time.
In the bookstore. Yeah, right where you're right. Okay. I know Betsy. Yeah.
Hello. How are you? Yes. Yes, congratulations. Yes, this is exciting.
Congratulations.
Tony. I don't remember anybody's names. This is what I did at Candi the other day. What's your neighbor's name? She just said hi, Betsy. I can't remember anybody. Thank you. And I'm like,
We already got ours. Okay. We can start. When do we decide to start? Once Betsy and Rosemary get back.
I know.
Always it's that. Retreats with Tony, the only other men in the house. We're supposed to start. We gotta wait for two more coming. Oh, I'm sorry. Our famous photographer, Barbara. Paparazzi. Yeah.
wait, I didn't realize this thing.
I got long dresses.
Oh, yes.
It's so gorgeous. Oh, look at your snazzy shoes.
Oh my
I've
God,
never
these are my
seen
favorite
you.
shoes. So they're the most comfortable shoes, and they have like glitter on them. But I wear them like
Great turnout. Yeah. She's really good. I want to go and see her. I say should sit there. It doesn't matter.
Do you see Renee's dress? See your dress?
No. Oh my gosh. Ah! Is that Renee?
Renee.
Check out the dress that just came in. I love it. Well, then at the aren't they beautiful?
Got the Magdalena. God, her dress. Is that hilarious?
Oh my god, so good. Did she make that? How did she do
I
that?
have no idea. Ordered it.
So I don't know the names of these.
That's Ricky in the polka dot.
Okay.
Katie's the one with the wires. That's Kim right here. This is
I know Kim, of course, yeah.
Katie's
Oh,
blonde.
I know.
Renee is
Kim.
blonde. Yes.
What's that? Low? I'm trying to stand up. Tall, like you.
No, that's not tilting, that's leaning.
That's knocking it over.
Right, that's like,
Okay.
you know what, Kim, I think the way it works is if you keep cranking the crank, it'll go, at least that's what ours did. Oh, there you go. Wait, but you're gonna hit that, Kim, on your right, you're hitting. Oh. There, well, it's a little button. That's all right. Is that good? I think that's out of order. I know, a lot of it, I just have over here. It's like my worst stuff there. You are. Pretend you're right there.
It'll be like making you do a wedding. Same thing.
Hello, everybody. We've got a very lively crowd here. Renee, you got to stand up just for a second. I'm sorry, please. Just do a twirl. It's so good. Woo! The Magdalena dress. This is so great. Congratulations, Candi. Here we are celebrating. Woo! Magdalena. This is the official club date, and this is the day that the book comes out. Tuesday's the day that in publishing when it comes out, and it's just so good to see so many familiar faces and friends and family here to celebrate Magdalena tonight, and other writers too. I guess if I do that, that's better. So I'm going to start by telling you all about Candi. You all know her. You know her well, but I bet you there are a few things on this bio that you don't know about her. Yeah. Candi Sary graduated from University of California, Irvine. She has been in the finals of many writing competitions, including Amazon Breakthrough Novel Award and the William Faulkner William Wisdom Creative Writing Competition. Her first novel, Black Crow, White Lie, won Reader Views Literary Award, a SIBA Award, and was first runner-up in the Eric Hoffer Book Award. Wow. It was made into a short film by Chase Michael Wilson. Her new novel, Magdalena, that's come out today by Regal House Publishing, also won a SIBA Award, which I just found out. That's fantastic. The rest of this you might know. She lives in Newport Beach, and she can often be found surfing and paddle boarding. And she is a board member of Friends of the Costa Mesa Libraries and a proud steward of a little free library. And she also has dogs and cats and ducks. But she's a brilliant writer, and this book is so good. Magdalena, I'm so thrilled that you all have bought a copy today, or some for friends or relatives. I have 4 sisters, and I'm getting each of them a book, and it's just absolutely beautiful. And I can't wait to have this discussion and talk about Candi's book. And we'll have a Q&A at the end. And it's a warm evening, so we won't keep you too long. And you guys are rowdy, so, I have to let you, as the wine settles in. But we're going to start with the author reading a short passage from the book, which is a wonderful way to start.
Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome.
And thank you, everyone, for coming. I love seeing all these
Go like
familiar
this.
faces. Oh, am I close enough?
There you go.
You all know how nervous and excited I can get. So this is a nice first talk. So, and Lisa's book is available here. I don't know who here has not read it, but Have Mercy on Us is brilliant. So I have to say that. Right?
Thank you.
So I'm reading?
Yes.
Okay. Lisa's like my babysitter. For this whole week, I call her, what do I do next? So I'm just going to read the prologue. In my dream, they're both still with me, the girl and the ghost. Their presence is so strong, something inside of me, even in sleep, awakens. I watch from above and see myself on my living room couch, a slender woman with the kind of sloping shoulders that come with being too tall. Thin hair, pale skin, I'm not much to look at. There's a 15-year-old girl sitting beside me with long, thick hair, warm brown skin, and the kind of confidence that comes with being born beautiful. Somewhere between us is the ghost. Only the girl can see and I distinctly feel. Nothing happens in my dream. The ghost doesn't move things around the house anymore. The girl doesn't busy herself with her phone anymore. We just sit together, as if understanding it's only a dream, and maybe if we stay still enough, we can hold on to this miraculous time together again. While there appears to be no change in the scene for the entire length of the dream, by the end, I notice my shoulders have risen up. I'm sitting tall, the way the girl sits. It's only a slight difference in my appearance, but I'm struck by how unusual it looks on me. While the girl and I share few physical characteristics, our silhouettes now resemble each other. It's as if once someone has come into your life and made an imprint, it can change the very shape of you. When I wake, I don't feel changed anymore. Not here, in this sad room where they've put me. I prefer the lights out so I don't have to see what I've become. I just want to close my eyes and fall back to sleep and dream again about the girl and the ghost and how we were before I lost them.
That was beautiful reading. I love the prologue.
Thank
I don't
you.
usually like prologues, but that's just so well written and beautiful. I wanted to talk, that's from the voice of Dottie, who is the main character in this book. She's called Dottie, and she starts the novel, and Barbara DeMarco Barrett just interviewed Candi. It came out today on Writers and on Writing about her novel, and I was listening to it in the car, and we both had the same question about it being an epistolary novel, like a letter written novel, because it does start out with Dottie writing to Susan at Beyond the Veil magazine. I love all of that, to prove her innocence. So so it's not epistolary in the sense that letters are written back and forth, but it's a letter that weaves itself through the whole novel, being written and trying to explain herself, Dottie. Can you talk about that setup for, what she's doing there?
So Dottie is sort of an outcast. She has no friends. And so as I was writing this, I was trying to imagine who would she be speaking to? Even though in a novel you could just speak to the reader, I can't even imagine her speaking to a reader. She's just so lonely. So I thought if she had a reason to tell her story, and so I brought in this magazine woman, and it helps give her reason to tell the whole story, like telling and building up for the reader that something happened, and let me start from the beginning to tell you what happened so that I can prove my innocence.
What is she proving her innocence about?
So Magdalena's missing. Magdalena was the girl who she got really close to. And when she went missing, the whole town thinks that she's done something because she's the odd lady in town. And near the end, you find there's more reason they think that she's done something. So she's telling even all the ugly parts of what really happened to prove that she's at least not a monster.
And so that brings us to Sam's Town, which is the setting of the novel.
Yeah.
You see it up here in the title. And this is Magdalena, who is she a ghost or is she real? But she is real, I think. But she, the town, Sam's Town, is really it's a ghost town, but it's based on something really tragic that happened in the town. And I'm just so fascinated with that because Candi creates this world where from the first 5 pages. You're completely in it. You're in the town. You understand who the players are, the characters that are the secondary characters, and what the town is like, and how you did that so effortlessly. Tell us about Sam's Town and what makes it so unique and a ghosty town.
Well, when I started writing, I had about 40 pages of my manuscript that I gave to, most of you know my daughter, Cinnamon, and she was in film school at the time. And when I gave her the 40 pages, she read them and said, I only like these 3 things. There were like 3 paragraphs. And we ended up, and she was right. It was great. We ended up brainstorming for about 2 hours afterwards, talking about those elements. But because she was in film school, she was very visual. And so she kept talking about the eeriness because it's a ghost town, and so the town really came alive from that talk. But then also Dottie is so haunted herself, so she's viewing the town through her lens, and it makes it even more so. I don't know if another character described the town, there might be something different about it, but it also has hints of my hometown, San Pedro. So there were landslides up on the cliffs. And yesterday there was, right? You guys saw the article. I'm like, the day before my book comes out, there's a landslide up there. Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But one day I was driving up to see my parents, and my mom said, hey, don't take this one street called Paseo del Mar because there's been some slippage. So the hour it took me to drive up there, I thought, okay, my town needs to be a ghost town. We need a reason for a lot of people to die. There'll be a landslide. So that real event kind of inspired that.
And there's 27 people that
Yes,
die in the landslide,
yes,
right?
yes.
And are they all ghosts?
They all become ghosts.
Okay, wow.
Until the priests,
the priest. Well, this brings me to Dottie. Sorry, Dottie, who is the main character, she becomes a girl moves in next door who is Magdalena, who's the cover, and she's 15. Dottie lives alone, and she becomes obsessed with this Magdalena, and they end up have a relationship. They're friends, come back and forth between houses, and Magdalena comes over after school, and Magdalena falls in bed, asleep in her bed one night, and Dottie says, surges of happiness woke me over and over again, and I could see the miracle with my own eyes. My daughter was home. And yet we know that Dottie doesn't have a daughter. So she's having these delusions of, this girl, the next door neighbor, being her daughter, which is kind of creepy. And, but also once you get to know Dottie through the narration, you have empathy for her and you understand how she feels that way. And to me, that's the heart of the story. That's really where the richness of it comes alive. And can you talk about that? That's the main focus for you.
So I started writing the novel the year both my kids went off to college. And, a lot of us here know with the mourning the empty nest was just tough. And so I didn't realize, but so much of what I was feeling was creeping into the novel, missing, my kids. And so it was about longing for motherhood. But on top of that, the creepiness, I think, comes in because, Cinnamon, my daughter, one day called me from college and we were talking about something and I was taking care of something for her. And she said, Mom, you're so obsessed with me. And I was like, I am. Like, motherhood is kind of an obsession too. I mean, it's not, there's a lot of loving, great stuff, but we can get pretty obsessed, especially like when they leave and you're missing them. So I thought, wouldn't that be great to kind of give the angle of like the obsessive part of motherhood? And so that is woven into the longing as well.
Right. And you took it a step further, which I love, in terms of the, because that's what you do as a writer. You take, you go further with it because you have an amazing imagination and it's really great to read and suspenseful because you're like, what's she going to do with this girl? But Magdalena is she's not your daughter. She's, she's 15 years old, and she has these powers to call in ghosts, spirits. And she herself is quite a unique 15-year-old kid. Now, when you were writing it, did you come up with her character first, or did you know she's going to have magical powers? How did that come?
I always knew she would have the magical powers, so that Dottie would want someone, need her to conjure someone. But it took a while to get to know Magdalena, and she looks kind of like my daughter Cinnamon. There are some things about her, but she's very different, and it took a while to really get to know her. And there came a point where, I don't know how many of you read my previous novel, Black Crow, White Lie. Woo! So I started realizing Magdalena reminds me so much of Juliet Bravo. And so it came to me, this is Juliet Bravo's daughter. And so it was fascinating as a writer to be like, how did this happen? And it all kind of came together. These things that I had written a while ago, fit in perfectly with that. And so, so she became that. And then I knew her because I knew her history, or at least I knew her family history. And then it was kind of fun, to bring back feelings from that old novel.
And the idea of the motherhood that you talked about, it's fascinating because these two characters, Dottie and Magdalena, of course, have their own shit with their mothers. I mean, it's what happens. But it's fascinating because they have similar backstories in terms, to me, reading it. I don't know, you guys might think differently, but Dottie's mother spent time in a mental institution, and Magdalena's mother was an alcoholic, and both mothers sort of abandoned them in a way and caused trauma in their daughters' lives. And I wondered if that was intentional when you were writing the story to show really the similarities of these characters.
I don't think it was intentional, but I think motherhood was just really on my mind. Maybe just all the complexities of motherhood, the scars of motherhood, like after my kids left, thinking I'm mourning them, but also just the scars, like what was hard about motherhood, being a mother, having a mother. It just, everything was just so, I had mother on the brain. Yeah. So
it just came.
Yeah.
And what I love, and you'll see when you start reading this, is there are so many music references from the band The Killers, Joni Mitchell, Fleetwood Mac, The Killers. Yep. We'll say that one again because that comes up a lot. Bob Dylan. So tell us, I love that because I always, and I wonder, when you're reading and then there's a song that and then you start humming it in your head when you're reading a book. But tell us how influential music is for your writing, because it's big for you.
Yeah, I think the music in the novel, the actual music that plays in the market on the record player, is just kind of old music that felt good to kind of give a feel of the town. It's sort of a flashback kind of town. But I listened to The Killers, and a lot of it's my very favorite band. And I would listen to them after writing every day. I'd go for a walk and listen to them. And their lyrics and their storytelling and Brandon Flowers' haunting, longing vibe, it all just kind of like seeped into my writing. And then I would start having fun with, playing with lyrics. There's a song, Believe Me, Natalie, and the lyrics are, something, leave the oh no's out. So I created a character named Natalie who said, oh no, all the time, just like little fun. So there's people who like The Killers can notice these references. And Magdalena is a song. Sam's Town is a song. So I just kind of like got obsessive over them. So yeah, there's a lot of obsession in my writing. and me.
And a lot of symbolism too. Yeah. We have the crows, which in your first book was Black Crow, White Lie. And this book, there's a lot of crows. There are lemons. There are, spray some lemon. Yep, there you go. Lemons everywhere in the novel. That's how we conjure the ghosts. There are mushrooms. There's a lot of Catholicism in this book. The Virgin Mary parts I just love. You'll have to talk about that. So I'm curious about how that all came about. That's so refreshing. Yeah. Oh my God, thank you. Thank you. Yes, we'll call in somebody. Talk about that. All the symbols in your book.
Yeah, I think Catholicism comes into all my novels. Having gone to Catholic school, I think when I was a kid and I would sit in church and look up at the stained glass, windows and the statues, I thought they were ghosts. I thought they were people, and I would kind of conjure stories about them. So I think Catholicism kind of started my imagination going pretty wild. And then I just always bring it in. It just seems to make sense to, in Virgin Mary sightings, they're in all my books. One that was never published, there's a wine spill, and, the red wine on the white tablecloth is a Virgin Mary. Black Crow has a Virgin Mary sighting. This one so
Yeah.
I don't know. She just shows up every time I write, and there's Virgin Marys all over my office. So maybe that's why.
Well, for anybody like me and my husband both grew up Catholic, like strict Catholic, there's so much in here that you're like, oh God, yes, the Catholic guilt, big time. Yeah, with the relationships. I have a lot of more questions, but I wanted to know if anybody in the audience has a question, because I don't want to keep you too long. Or anybody have anything they want to ask Candi on her publication day? How are you feeling, Candi?
Good, thank you guys.
Oh!
You guys are making it comfortable.
Tell us about your journey with Magdalena, the book, and how to coming to this day, and how you can't even believe that this day is here, right?
Yeah,
here we are.
I know it feels like, I watched Lisa go through it. So her book came out in January, and
Yeah.
I remembered what she was going through. I kept asking questions, and today it's almost like my brain just feels kind of tangled. Like, okay, I'm not sure what to do, and then hopefully tomorrow it will, unwind, and then, we celebrate Saturday.
But tell us about the book, like how it came, like how many years you've been working on this, how trials and errors, all of that.
I started working on it, I guess 2012, when both kids went away to college, and it took about 3 years to write the first draft, and then rewriting through all the rest of the years. And then it was in 2020 when Regal House Publishing accepted it. And I love this story. So I sent them the first 50 pages, and the next day they said, we'd really like to read the whole thing, so please mail us the complete manuscript. So I go to the post office, and in front of me is a woman with a really low cut top and back. And by the way, Regal House, their logo is a crown. So the woman in front of me at the post office has a really low cut top and a crown tattoo. And so I said, oh, the universe is telling me this is my publisher.
Yeah.
And you guys all know I'm always telling myself that, but that one was really true. Yeah. So it was exciting. And then getting to know authors like Lisa. We met through our publisher. We met Jude, and Lisa and I, we talked all through publishing. And so it's been great. Yeah, it's been a great experience.
It's such a beautiful book. Does anybody have any questions they want to ask, or anything that I could keep asking questions, but this book that you're all going to read, it's, do you want me to ask more questions? You want more questions? Okay, good. Richard Bausch has a question. Good. Was Magdalena always the title is the question?
It always was. And then I thought, I'm going to think of a better title, and nothing else came up that I liked. And then I got so attached to it that it was like, oh no, it has to be Magdalena. So I tried. Yeah, but no, now I love it. I'm like, why did I try to think of anything else? Yeah. So yeah. 60. What did you end up with?
What's the title, Richard? Oh, Real Presence. Yeah, that's a great title.
Yeah.
Can't hear you.
Nice.
Candi, I wanted to ask about you have so many secondary characters in this book. Besides, we've been talking about Dottie and Magdalena, but then we have Buttons, who's next door. We have Frankie California, who's on the other next door, right? I love him too. There's 100-year-old woman that has a lot to say. Yes,
Charmaine Lee.
Yes. Talk about that in creating a world. Yes.
I think it was so fun just to come up with like this quirky, strange town. And it was like, a lot of the characters, well, the mail lady. So a lot of, Joni in our book club. What's that? No. So Joni has, Joni on Balboa Island has a mail lady. And she said she keeps hot dogs in a baggie in her pocket to feed the dogs if they're barking, and she tosses them to the crows, and so the crows follow her around. And this is right when I first started writing the book. I said, I need this mail lady. And then she just became such an important character. So yeah, just kind of quirky things. And then Frankie, California. I heard a story about a mobster who had a name like Frankie, New York, or where he was from. I thought, how funny to name yourself where you're from. And this guy's in the Witness Protection Agency, so he's really trying to prove he's from California. So he names himself Frankie, California. I just thought it was super fun. But yeah, they really kind of came to life with this town.
Well, you really created an amazing world. Honestly, like once you start going, it's such a page turner. It really is. There's so much suspense, which I don't know how to do as a writer at all. So I love that. I admire the suspense that you create in this book, because you really will be turning the page. How, as this is like a technical question, I guess, but how did you keep that momentum going, or how did you do, like, what was your process of, creating that?
I think it was easy to do that because I didn't know what was going to happen. And so things surprised, and that's why it took so long. I mean, it took, so many years to write, but I think surprising myself made it kind of fun, where things had to unfold. And I tried looking for clues in life and in Killer's lyrics and, just trying to look for them in other places. And so when something really happened, when I got to know the characters and it would happen, it would surprise me too. So maybe that's how it.
Right. And you just don't know till you're,
yeah.
Kim, did you have something you wanted to ask? Oh, good question. Yes.
Benjamin.
Explain who he is in the book.
So Benjamin is, so Dottie was married and her husband had a bad accident. So he had a brain injury and he's unresponsive in a rest home. And Benjamin is the man at the library. She meets him at the library and he sort of flirts with her, and they read books together. They meet in room B where they each read a paragraph at a time, and he sort of slips his hand on her knee under her dress, and she's just excited by it. It's a very strange little affair. She calls it affair. What is the quote? They never met in a bedroom, but being inside a story had its own heat, so she's sort of obsessed with him, but then he stops showing up and she realizes he's died. So that's who she has Magdalena come conjure, the ghost of Benjamin. And so they spend time reading again. And so he was just fun. He ends up being sort of just a tortured man in his own way. I know he's flawed, but yeah, I don't want to give too much away, but he was really fun to write. And Dottie needed that.
She needed a Benjamin. She did, because her husband is no longer there, which you learn in the first pages. So that's, that's not giving anything away. Yeah. So she's tending to him. He's no longer responsive, or I'm not sure what the correct term is. So, but she visits him every day. So it makes sense. And we're glad for her. Yeah. In a way, but there's something that happens that I can't tell you, and what happens with Benjamin that is also very fascinating and interesting in this novel. Anybody else have a question that they wanted to ask? Yeah, Renee. Oh.
Yeah. Maybe it's sort of the mood I'm in when I write. I almost feel like, I'm sort of maybe sunshiny in life, but when I write, it's very cloudy in my head. So I think that's it. I think it's my brain.
And your process for writing is you write in the mornings and then you play your music. Talk about how you do your writing day.
I try to write in the morning and then walk and play my music and sort of like let the characters unfold in a different way. When you're away from the page, it's interesting how they come to life totally differently. And then, I'll run home if I think of something and start again the next day.
Because so many of you are writers in the audience, right? And want to know how to get a book like this. Did you write consecutively every day? Like, did you keep a schedule for yourself that way?
I tried to. It's strange. I wrote more when the kids were young and I was on schedule. Margot and I would drop off the kids and meet at the beach and surf. So we would, just get some exercise and then go home, and then I would write until I had to pick them up. And so it was like very structured, and then it's like make dinner then. When they left, it was almost like, oh, I have all this free time, so I had to find my structure again. But usually I write in the morning and
And this cover is so beautiful. Tell me about how you felt about the cover when it came out, because at Regal House they do ask you what you want, and then they just send you what they want. Basically, I think is how it goes. Talk about the cover. For
My
you.
first impression was it's not turquoise, but I was okay with it because it's not a turquoise book. So I loved it. I mean, it's haunting. It's initially I was worried because Magdalena dressed funky. She, wore clothes from vintage clothing stores, and she, kind of looks like my daughter Cinnamon, and this didn't look like her. And they said, no, that we didn't want to put a character on the cover. This is one of the ghosts. So I'm like, okay, tell me that story. And then I love it. Yeah. So as long as I knew it wasn't Magdalena.
And it sort of looks like Cinnamon for everybody who knows Cinnamon. You have she's got the bun and
in that one, there is
just
one picture.
Something about her. It's a beautiful cover. And you're happy with it.
Oh, I am. Yeah. And like Renee's dress. I mean, I love that. It goes well on dresses, on wine bottles. Yeah.
It works. Yes. Earrings.
Yeah. The mushrooms.
The mushrooms are, and the mushrooms come up with lots of different recipes in the book too, which is interesting.
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. No, I do love it. And Sam's Town, they put the name there. So that was really great.
It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
And so does anybody have any questions at all that they want to ask? I want to make sure I ask if you have questions. Yes, in the back here. Oh,
I did always want to write.
Yeah.
I still have little stapled books that I typed from when I was 7 years old, like a little collection of them. I used to I was a fourth kid, so my parents were so busy with the other kids, and so I would go in my room with my little typewriter and my record player, and I'd play Beatles, albums, or It's a Small World too. I had a variety. And then I would just write stories, and I'd try to copy the encyclopedia, but not every word. So it wasn't quite plagiarism. I'd write these little nonfiction books, so I always loved that so much. And so then when the kids were young and I was home and I'd been reading, I'm like, okay, I'm going to start writing. I'm not going to be very good at it right away. So I thought if I practice now, I'll get good at it eventually.
Was it always ghost stories for you? Because I know you as a very literary reader. You post on Instagram like at least once a week, a book you've finished, and you give a review, and I don't see ghost stories. So it's interesting. And two of your books I've read that are ghost stories. So
I think I love supernatural elements. Black Crow had supernatural elements, and that might have, I love that in life. I'm always looking for signs. And, but I also think Toni Morrison, reading her just like impacted me. And I just loved how she wove that in, and,
Beloved.
But all her books have a little something magical. So I loved that about her. And I remember when I first read her, I was obsessed, and I tried you can't write like Toni Morrison. So you just have to take it in, love it, and then move on and find your voice. So that's what I tried to do.
And you have that beautiful portrait where you write, it's in your reading chair, right? Above her is this beautiful portrait of Toni Morrison in your house.
Yes.
Yeah, you probably know. Well, you probably all know.
Yes.
Yeah, it's such an amazing portrait. Well, I just want to conclude by saying I'm so thrilled for you. This is amazing. And as for a writer, when you read the book, all of you, when you love it, if you can post about it and then do a Goodreads blurb, or Amazon, wherever you read your books, that helps a writer a lot. And it's a big deal, even though you think, oh, she's doing great. She's got a lot of upcoming events and things happening for the book, and we're so thrilled for you, Candi. Woo! Let's have some wine and celebrate.
Thank you so much, Lisa. And thank you all
thank
for
you
being
everybody
here.
for
you guys
coming.
Driving out during rush hour traffic. I so appreciate all of you. I love this. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.